Two Filipinos. One born in America, one became an American. Welcome to Born Here, Born There.
Hey everyone, welcome to our Virgin podcast. Is that what we're
Our
gonna call
maiden,
this, Ricky?
our maiden
Our maiden
episode.
one.
I don't know if you can say virgin anymore.
All
Anyway,
right, that's true.
yeah,
That's true. Unless you're talking about the brand, maybe that's okay.
right, because it's a brand, right? What can you
Yeah.
do?
Well, if you're joining us today, this is our first episode of Born Here, Born There. We are basically, we'll say, as it says in the beginning of the intro, is two Filipinos. I was born here. Ricky is not recently. Ricky has become an American. He's emigrated here. He's living the dream in LA. So I think what we'll do, and what we'll do is we'll be picking up topics and then sharing our perspectives. Mostly I'll be like, what the hell? And you'll say, well, this is what happens. And where it comes. So I think from what we've been talking about today, let's get into the crazy politics that's going on in the Philippines. And, if you look at the headline from earlier this week, I don't think this is surprising. I mean, the corruption in what is it called? Is it Floodgate? What do they call it? It's just the ghost flood projects, right?
Flood control, yeah, they're flood control projects, and they ended up being like ghost projects.
But how did it happen, right? For me, I look at this as, when I was growing up, it was right after the Marcos era. All of that corruption was there. It was all this hope that the Philippines was going to change and corruption was going to be rooted out and no one was going to put up with it. But it seems like over time we got to this, right? I mean, even
Yeah,
when I was living in the Philippines, it felt like a golden time. Everyone had hope. There's a lot of development going on. I didn't see any of the corruption. I mean, the typical like give someone a tip kind of thing to give them better
right.
service, that kind of thing. That to me isn't
Yeah,
corruption. That's just what you do. But
yeah.
I don't even know where to start on this. Like, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, no, so when I was there, but for the understanding and appreciation of our listeners, I moved here in 2013. So that's about 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So I moved here 2013. So I was a full-grown adult by the time I moved here. So for all intents and purposes, I am a Filipino. I was born there and I lived a majority of my life there. But moving here, and I became a citizen in 2019, so 6 years ago. So recently, I had some sort of existential crisis or identity crisis where I was like, I need to forget that. I need to forget that and live here and exist here.
Yeah.
But that would be giving away or giving up a lot of decades of my life there. Not only a lot of decades or a lot of years, but the primacy part of my life, which is the foundational, right? So it was hard.
Right.
Yeah, anyway.
It makes you, Ricky. I mean, I think that's,
Yeah,
you can't, as much as I think that's part of what we're taught to is try to fit in all the time. So,
right. It's
but
just
you're right.
it's hard to let go. But I really have, I think, assimilated really well here. Or adjusted, yeah. Where I feel like I live here, I exist here, or
Well, you have
whatever.
a family now. Like your life is here.
Exactly. So when I was there, it was normal. So if you get flagged down by a traffic cop, right? Where, hey sir, you passed the stop sign, or you ran the red light, or you shouldn't have turned right here, or you shouldn't have turned left here, you'd be like, hey boss, here's 500 pesos. Can you just let it slip, right? You don't even say, can you let it slip? Here's 500 pesos. Let me go my merry way,
Yeah.
right? That was the thing. That was like normal, right? Um, and that's really corruption if you think about it, because you're
Yeah.
bypassing the law or cutting corners or bribing somebody, right? So for me, that was corruption. Another example, Manolo, that I'd like to share with you and for our listeners. I always thought corruption in government was like this, okay? I had an experience and I saw this firsthand where a project was trying to be implemented where somebody needed to bring medicine to a province, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this was, I think this was in the 90s. So it was about 2 million pesos worth of medicine that needed to be brought to some province, right? And a senator, I forget if it was a senator or a congressman, right? A senator or a congressman said, "Yeah, that's fine. 2 million. I'll sign the project or the invoice or whatever it is. Just give me a gun as a gift." So I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, a gun, that was what, maybe less than 100,000 pesos. I don't know how much a gun costs in the Philippines. I know how much it costs here. But compared to the 2 million, so it was like an under the table gift, So I always thought it was like that, where you just needed to slip the government official something like a token. So when this whole thing exploded, where on let's just say 100 million project, almost 60% would go to all these people, to the point that there weren't enough funds for the project itself. So I was like, that's just crazy. Because when I was there, the project would definitely still be there. It's just that out of 1 million, for the sake of this discussion, out of 1 million, maybe you gave 100,000, Sorry, I was wrong. Out of 10 million, you would give 100,000. So I was like, yeah, that's just normal, that's fine. But not out of 10 million, you give away 6 million. And then not only did you give away 6 million, the project wouldn't even exist at all. So that's
Crazy.
That's the news that I got from here. And it really started with that Discaya couple flaunting their cars in the lobby of their office, where they had these feng shui statues that were worth millions of dollars. And I was like, how is that possible? How can you afford 40 luxury vehicles and luxury and imported vehicles? That's just crazy. There's no way you can afford that. And that's the match that lit everything up, I think.
So they were just so bold to be like, look at our lives. I mean, I read about how the Nepo babies were showing off all their bags and the kind
This
of
was
cars.
similar.
Yeah. Okay, right. I mean, it's not unlike what happens here, right? I think if we look at TikTok, there's a whole channel or category of living my best life stuff, and
right.
people are showing how great their life is. I mean, I understand that part, but it seems like looking at how, I mean, the Philippine government is mirrored on the U.S. government, right? I mean, it's pretty much the same structure with the cabinet,
Right.
Senate and the House, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What is amazing to me is, like you said, it's just the way things were done. But it sounds like, it seems like history's repeating itself, right?
Yeah. When you say history repeating itself, obviously you're referring to the Marcos era, right?
Yeah.
For me, my impression of the Marcos regime or era or whatever, I always thought it was more of he himself, he and Imelda and maybe his whole family were pocketing the funds themselves.
Yeah, I thought that too. Is that
Right.
not how it is? Or that's
No,
not
apparently it's more than that, where everybody else was doing. I thought he stole directly from the funds. So it wasn't about projects and, it was more about literally, this money is mine. I'm going to put it in my pocket. So it was more, now it's more of these government officials So it's spread out. So I don't know back in the Marcos era, obviously we didn't have the internet and social media, if that wealth was also with everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or his friends and associates would be living a very similar life.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
You know, I was, as I did the research on just how did this happen, you know, the Ghost Flood Project. I mean, it was just fascinating. I stumbled upon it. You know, I mostly look at TikToks and Filipino stuff about, like, you know, the dancing and the food. I mean, this is the fun stuff. But I
Right.
started to see this in my feed about this Ghost Project. I'm like, this is weird and interesting. And so I went on YouTube, and then, you know, they had the blue ribbon panel,
Yeah.
just the whole thing, and I'm watching
The
it,
Senate hearings, yeah.
eating my popcorn, going, "Oh my God, how?" And then, like you said, the Discaya folks, they were just so arrogant and belligerent in that session when they were being
Yeah.
interviewed and questioned. It's like they felt like they were entitled to that.
Yeah.
I also, you know, I think if we look at, like, just the endemic corruption, right? It's not only that these people were taking the money and saying the projects were done. It, like you said, it's like there was a budget insertion in the project to kind of, that's their slush fund for them to take the money out, right? That's one thing. If you had contractors that were all part of it as well, right? There was another level of the corruption where there was, you know, the favored contractors that were prominent in the Philippines, or are prominent, including the Discayas, and they basically had a bunch of little shell companies, and they would compete against each other just to pretend that there was some sort of real process.
Yeah.
And then just the systemic kickbacks, because it's not just, like you said, you could pay a policeman 500 pesos and walk away with a no ticket.
Yeah.
It was the same way. The lawmakers and officials were given a piece. Like, everybody had a little piece along the path.
Yeah.
And you know, I think what I didn't understand, and I had to look it up, is like, how did this get so far along without anyone seeing it? But I think the reason why was because the weather changed and people are dying in floods, and they're like, wait a minute, aren't we doing stuff about this? Why all of a sudden, or why is the world flooded? Why is our country flooding?
Right.
Spending, what was it, like billions, US billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's not just peso money.
Yeah. I think it came to a head already with the floods, where we've been doing this for decades. And why are we still suffering the same thing year in, year out? Yeah. It finally came to a head. And it's heartbreaking to discover that, no, there were funds for this, there were projects for this, but they weren't being implemented. Yeah.
Right. And the money comes from the taxes people pay. You know, as poor as the Philippine folks are, they pay their taxes.
Because it's automatic.
Yeah, it's taken out, right? But
that's one of the things I had to adjust to here, where I have to file it. So in the Philippines, you know, Manolo, when I was there, I was working for Nestle, and for all the other companies I worked for there, it's automatic. They will just deduct 35% automatic from your salary. It's automatic. You don't have to file anything. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, in some ways that's actually easier, because I've messed up a couple times in my youth about not filing the right number in there. So yeah,
it is. But here's the funny thing: there's no tax refund. Let's just say you overpaid,
they just take
or whatever, and you know, here you get something back at some point, right?
Yeah.
There, you never get anything. Not only do you not get anything back in terms of cash or money back, you don't see where your money is going to. You know, here in California, every time we're at a park here, there's thousands of parks here, right? I always tell my wife, you know what? You will never find a park like this in Manila. in the most exclusive, you won't find a park like this.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Because when I was
So
living there,
yeah.
I had my son with me. You know, I was working at Jollibee. My wife was like, "Let's go take him out to a park." Well, granted, I was like, "It's really hot outside." She's like, "He needs fresh air." We could not find a park. We had to go
You
to
won't
the
find a decent
malls
park.
and stuff like that.
Yep, exactly.
Is that also just a planning thing, or like
Could
why
be a
aren't there any
planning
parks?
thing, could be a cultural thing, could be somebody stole the money thing. It just doesn't exist. Yeah.
Like, is it you know, part of what I was trying to understand is it's called what, the Department of Public Works and Highways, right?
Yes.
DPWH.
DPWH. Yeah.
They seem to have like a broad remit. It's not just the flood control projects. It's like what schools
Yeah.
get built, what institutions. So, you know, it makes me think, is the entire system broken like that?
I'm sure. Obviously, it is everything. Yeah. Which is funny. You know why this is funny for me? Working for Nestle, right? Multinational global company. And you remember this when you would bid for projects, right? We had a department.
Yes.
It's called the marketing control department, and they would always be present in the process, right?
Yes.
To make sure nobody gets any favors, right? So I was like, couldn't we do the same thing where there's a body that makes sure no shenanigans happen, right? If a company can do that, how come a government couldn't do that? Where that's why I'm like, I don't know if you've heard in the news, you've heard of the COA or the Commission on Audit. That's their job. I don't know why that's not implemented, where obviously they're also corrupt and they're also bribed. But I think that's just the simple solution to it, where you always have maybe an independent or an external auditing company to make sure that nothing like that happens. I don't know, how is it done in the States, Manolo, to your knowledge? Does such a thing or department exist here, where
Well,
they
you know,
sheriff it or police it?
there is supposed to be oversight, right? Like, let's,
Hmm.
you know, just because I get nervous when we talk about politics in this environment we're living in, but the way it's structured is there are oversight committees. You know, there's a bill that has to be passed for the funding to go through. I mean, you can see it now, like when the funding
Oh
gets
yeah, yeah.
pulled, it's
The
from
government
the
shutdown.
government.
Yeah.
But even from the standpoint of, like, you know, early on in this administration, they shut down projects that they felt were wasteful, and that's how it works, right?
There you go.
There is a few governing committees focused in that area that say, we all agree that this should be funded from the government, you know, and this money comes from the taxes that the people pay, and they focus on the welfare or of the constituents, which is the way it's supposed to work. So, and again, I look at the Philippines, which is modeled after the U.S. government structure. That should be, but you know what I also saw when I was working in the Philippines is there's a clear hierarchy culturally, where people that report into senior ranking people don't question or challenge any decisions that are made. To me, you know, that's part of the reason why when the Jollibee folks were interviewing me, they told me, it was like, we need someone, you know, A, you're Filipino, so of course we want you to work here, but to B was, you're raised differently, not you will question authority. Like, is that something you see as true? I mean, now that you're here, you've lived here long enough, from this standpoint. I mean, when you were working at Nestle, did you feel like there was this, you know, unspoken kind of culture where you don't challenge the boss? The boss is always right, even if they're wrong. Because that's
Yeah.
basically what I saw.
Yeah.
And do you think that's how part of this happened? Like, you know, these contractors are the people that work for the Congress people, probably didn't question it and said, this is just the way it's done. Is that, you know, that's me making a broad statement.
Yeah.
something I don't understand.
I don't know if you remember reading this from one of those Malcolm Gladwell books, the Power Dynamic Index.
No.
And it's about, it's about challenging or questioning authority or power, right? That's why Power Dynamic Index. The Philippines either, I forget if the Philippines ranks high or ranks low, in the sense that they do not challenge authority at all. Right? They're like top on the list, where we just don't culturally. And then the nation that does that the best is Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Where they will like, oh, this is nonsense, and they will actually ask the boss or the authority. So I think culturally, that's just the way it is in the Philippines, where you're just scared. You're just scared to either you're scared or you're shy, and you don't want to stick out, and you don't want to rock the boat or anything like that. So this wasn't necessarily the case with Nestle, because Nestle is a Swiss company,
Right.
So, but they do have the systems in place. But everything else, like, everything else in Manila or the Philippines, that's the case where you just don't question it. So if you have a uniform on, or if people know you're a high-ranking government official, or any government official for that matter, you just obey blindly.
So that
That's just how it
facilitated
is.
part of this situation, right? Like if I
Right.
was looking at the milestones, right? It said in 2020, August 2025, Marcos Jr., right? The son of Marcos. Another discussion.
Another
for us.
topic altogether. Yeah.
But that also kind of led me to, okay, they elected him fair and square, right? That was a solid election. Someone that was part of this family dynasty that was known for some of the earlier problems in the Philippines, and he got elected. So maybe, all right, fine, I'll let that go. But he basically conducted inspections because of all the flooding and what was going on, and realized, oh crap, this has not been, these are all non-existent or not finished. And even if they were finished, they were done in really bad ways. Like I saw one video where they put a pipe at one end and then cut it, and then they didn't make it go all the way through. They just put a pipe on the other side to make it look like it went all the way through. Like, I don't even know how that gets done. Right? And then what did it say? Oh, in September, an independent commission was formed, and now, that's when all of these Blue Ribbon Committee conversations were happening. And then, now we are where they are, right? Are they, I haven't checked recently. I do they put people like that in jail, or is that something where they just, I saw that they were getting this guy as cars from them. That was like one thing I was like, yay. At least
the customs. Yeah, the customs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how does that happen?
I don't know. I don't know if you remember a few years back, or maybe almost a decade ago, that that Napoles person, they were investigating the pork barrel scam, or the pork barrel controversy, and it's the same. It's the funds of the congressman, and she ended up in jail. And I also don't know if you remember, but Enrile, Revilla, and Jingoy Estrada were also found guilty of plunder. So they didn't go to jail, but they were in house arrest, right? So yes, but no. So I think the impunity comes from that as well, where, hey, there's no teeth in any of these. So they're like, it goes unchecked, right? So they're like, oh, it's okay to do it again, because nobody really goes to jail except for some scapegoat, right?
Yep. And can't they, just like you said, it's like you can pay a police officer off.
Yeah.
Did you pay the jailer off so that
Yeah.
the most I've ever seen is that, if you've seen Goodfellas, right? That's one of those.
Yeah.
Where they paid off the jail, and they
Right.
live in a dorm almost.
Right.
That's what I imagine these people will get, is they just pay them off, and they'll maybe it's house arrest or something.
Or house arrest, yeah. So I think this is different, though, where the people are really clamoring for something different, where And I think if that doesn't happen soon, really soon, there's gonna be bedlam and
Yeah.
chaos. And
You
yeah,
think it's going to be like the EDSA thing where,
I think so. I think so.
really?
And yeah, I was looking at it, and because I was a kid when EDSA happened, right? Um, so I didn't know that EDSA actually was a 4 day event. So they stayed in the streets for 4 days.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, from February 22 to February 25. So what's celebrated now is February 25. That's when the Marcoses left, right? But the thing was actually a 4 day event. So I think for the next one, for it to succeed, is the people need to stay in the streets longer. And it can't be just 1 day or one afternoon or whatnot. It needs to be longer, like a sustained protest. But I think that's coming. That's gonna come very soon. I know there's another one. They had one, but I think another one is scheduled for November 21, if I'm not mistaken. So because nothing's happening. Nobody's going to jail. Nobody's being incriminated or anything like that. So, and then this other congressman, Zaldi Ko, is running around Europe, and it seems like he's one of the masterminds or anything like that. So he's running.
Did he run
around
away?
free.
I remember that name. He
Yeah.
ran away from the
He
Philippines.
ran
when it-
away. He ran
Right.
away. Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine they would, want to call the country he's in and be like, hey, send him back. I mean,
Arrest this guy.
Duarte got pulled in and now he's facing the music, right? So
Right. So yeah, something's gonna happen soon. Yeah, something's gonna explode
Yeah.
soon. Hopefully
think-
sooner.
you think it'll be, I mean, I have never known the Filipino people to be violent people.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, perfect example is the way the EDSA happened. No one, like, it wasn't like fighting in the streets or anything. Do you think the military has the will to go after? I mean, they're probably, saying this has to change too. Like, it doesn't, it feels like, going back to that Rappler poll, I mean, it said 97% of the Filipinos believe it's widespread. Like, that's
Everyone. That's basically everyone. Yeah.
like the 3% are probably everyone in Congress, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
I those kind of numbers just make me think. I mean, I agree with you. I think something's got to happen, but I just, I don't think it's going to be a violent type of thing. But I feel like, it's like the Arab Spring or anywhere else where political change had to happen, and the country itself just turned in on itself. So
Yeah. I think these are my thoughts, okay? So I think a strike. It should be a strike. Like where, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of my taxes or my salary getting deducted and so on and so forth. I'm tired of that, so I'm going to strike. Let's go out on the streets to strike. I think what needs to happen needs to be prolonged, so longer, so that business stops and the normal proceedings stop, where economy stops, business stops, trade stops, services stop, because everyone's in the streets, rich, middle class, poor alike, and everything stops. I think that needs to happen. And I think I know everybody says, oh, that can't happen because people need to make money and so on and so forth. I think what needs to happen is, go out on the streets for 7 days or 4 days, whatever it is. But then while you're there, allow vendors or traders or whatever to sell there so that they can still make their daily whatever, right? I think that's natural, but I think that's how people should think. Like if we were all there, then let's allow them to sell drinks or sell snacks or sell food, and then patronize these people so that they make money. And then the ones who can afford to actually not do anything for a few days, patronize them so that, it's sustainable. I think if the Filipino people do that, I think it's gonna deliver something.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we've got about 5 minutes left for this episode because I'm supposed to keep you on time, so because we could
Right.
talk forever.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the surveys they conducted, and then this is something again. I think you could give me more insight. So the surveys looked across different geographic areas, right? It said anger and outrage is highest in Balance, Luzon. Am I doing that right? Balance, Luzon. It says 64% in Balance, Luzon. Anger and outrage is the highest. The second highest is the Visayas, 63%. That's where my parents live. And then the NCR is 59%. Oh, and Mindanao is 46, so it kind of drops. I wonder if that's because are they further away? Like, do they govern themselves? Mindanao, is it different? And then it said,
Yeah.
it said
I was gonna say,
notably, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think that could be a function of population,
Yeah.
where just a lot of Filipinos are in Manila, so that might be skewed because of that.
It says notably, anger is in the most dominant emotion among ABC class, 70%. And then across age groups, the majority of adult Filipinos, of course, expressed anger over corruption, mostly in the younger Filipinos, particularly Gen Z and millennials. And it says it's lower for the older folks. So it says 44% among those aged 65 and 74. So I wonder why that is. It's like they're less. Is it because maybe they're like, well, this is how it is and we're not going to change it?
Yeah.
This is the younger kids? Yeah.
Yeah, both that and like the connectedness of the younger folk. So the older folk probably, because they're not as they're not online as much, they don't have access to the information, or they don't have the information. So, and also maybe we're like, oh, it's too late. So
Yeah.
it's too late to do anything. So we're gonna let the kids, we're gonna let the young ones take care of it. Yeah. But yeah, it's the Manila. That's why I'm like, this is the other thing that I don't get. Why don't you guys protest in the Senate outside
Yeah. Yeah.
and not in the EDSA or Forbes Park or wherever it is, but go there so that you disrupt the proceedings, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not gonna notice you. I don't know why they don't do it in where the Congress is, or where the Senate is, or where the government is,
Yeah.
so that you can.
That's how they do it
denied.
here, right? On the
That's
White
how they
House
do it here.
lawn.
They go to the White House. Yeah, that's the thing. The other thing I don't understand: why don't they do that?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe EDSA has a more, it's a more powerful part because it's that main artery. I don't know.
I guess
Yeah.
could be.
If
Could very well
anything,
be.
it's just more traffic, which I think, and again, that's another piece is like the fact that
That's
they
right.
put it.
Stop it. Yeah, you gotta stop it.
Yeah.
It's like a denial of service.
Yeah. It goes back to
you
your
know?
point about like just stop everything and the strike.
Yeah. Let's strike and stop everything, and then you'll get noticed. But it would help if you did do it where the action is. The other thing about EDSA, Manolo, is the military camps are there. Camp Aguinaldo, Camp Crame. We're in EDSA. That's why it also kind of made sense to do it there.
Yeah.
So yeah, this time I think do it where the Senate is.
Yep. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you're in the Philippines listening to us, these are words of advice. Move it from EDSA.
Move it to the Senate so that they can't do anything, disrupt the proceedings there, and then do it for more than one day. So do it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then you gotta sustain it. I think people forgot that, hey, EDSA, the first one took 4 days.
Yep. And they can rally this much better now with all the connectivity and the apps and stuff out there. So,
Right.
all right. Well, I'm looking at the time. I think next, we'll pick this up next episode. And also, I think what I hope we can do is we can talk more about like the place where you live, where your heart is, which is the social media aspect aside. Because I'm fascinated how this Nepo baby thing kind of turned in on itself, right? everyone was following them to say, oh, look at how great their lives are. And then suddenly it's like, wait a minute, that's my money that paid for that luxury item that you have. Let's go get them, right? So I'd be interested in your perspective on how that goes. So
Let's do it.
thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
We'll be back next time.